All right, good morning, guys. Welcome in. This is our daily hit and run MLB show. My name is Adam, also known as at YFC Sports V12. I'm joined by my compadre here, Mr. Pete Cole at YFC Sports Pete. Pete, I don't know if you got a Cinco de Mayo hangover, but I will say that we got to be on point today, brother. We got a lot of games, we got a lot of weather, a lot to talk through. But I do want to ask how you're doing this morning. I know those Florida skies got some weird rockets shooting out, and I mean, in addition to the weather, there's all kinds of craziness, man. Happy May 6th. How are you today?
Doing good. Yeah, it was weird. I was out walking my dog this morning at 5 a.m. and the whole sky just shot up.
Yeah,
but I guess it was SpaceX shooting. I just saw they shot up like 50 satellites this morning. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty
it was
sweet.
Like
yeah, and like in Houston, the area that I'm in, I mean, obviously Ellington Field, we have a lot of flybys, so we're kind of used to it. When everybody kind of freaks out, we're like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, it's been good. Like I said, I'm excited. Had a good cashing slate yesterday on MLB. Got to enjoy some Cinco de Mayo. Got to watch a little Moon Knight. Have you seen Moon Knight yet?
No.
Yeah, you're like, nah. But it's pretty cool, man, on Disney Plus. So we're gonna get into it, guys.
I almost went to that was Doctor Strange last night. My daughter's almost talked me into it, so we're gonna go tomorrow night.
Okay, yeah, that would be worth seeing for sure. Guys, I do want to talk at yourfielderschoice.com. We do have a current promo going on while time remains. Jump into that, $25. That is half off all of our sports. So that's the premium access to our content at yourfielderschoice.com on the articles. Also, any premium chats on our free Discord. To get into the premium ones, though, you do have to be a premium member. So be sure to jump in, tag somebody with the YFC in front of their name. We'll be sure to get you the direction that you need to get into those premium chats. Obviously, that's where Pete, myself, and a lot of our coaches hang out most of the time. I'll be honest, I very rarely, unless I'm tagged, I check those other chats that are not premium. But with all that being said, it's going to be a day that you do need to be around to check your premium Discord because there's a lot for MLB. I just saw we had a game postponed for the early showdown slate. The LA Dodgers and Chicago Cubs decided to postpone because of weather. And so we know the Northeast has got a lot of crap going on. So we are going to talk weather a lot due to our guy Kevin Roth. I know there's some mixed reviews about Kevin Roth, about what he brings to the table, but my philosophy and thoughts have always been, I mean, if you don't like it, don't use them, do it yourself, because I'm sure that's a hell of a job to sit there and forecast the weather and predict what it's going to do. He's just going to give his obviously best, best that he can on certain areas on if it's going to be good or not be good. But if you have another weather guy, drop it in the chat, man. We're always due to check different people out. I know there's some really good ones out there on Twitter. So all that being said, Pete, we got a big slate ahead of us. It's 13 games lined up. However, it looks like with weather, we may get up to 6 games postponed. So we're going to talk about weather first. And then we're going to kind of go into the slate, talk about everything positionally, kind of build maybe a kind of a cash play core of what you're looking at here, any of your favorite plays as well. And we're not going to mention in our season long league that I'm beating our owner Gervais 10-0 in our MLB matchup. So we're not going to mention that at all. All right. That being said, Pete, KC Baltimore right now, yellow orange is what Kevin Roth currently has it. It says mostly dry start, light rain's going to move in early, heavy around the end of the game. So maybe they can play. We'll have to see on that one. Texas and the Yanks game in New York looks like that one's going to get postponed. It seems like they're getting beat up pretty much by the weather. They're kind of the same thing with the Philadelphia game with the Mets. Mets traveling to Philadelphia. Looks like it's going to be a wash. They could squeeze it in, but we do want to keep an eye on those because for GPP purposes, I know St. Louis looked like almost a imminent postponement the other day, and they wind up kind of going off at low ownership there. So the White Sox-Boston game, obviously Boston's kind of a little bit north of that same thing in New York, so we want to keep an eye on that. Well, that's probably more likely, but we'll have to keep an update on you guys in the premium chat. Toronto-Cleveland, it's going to be ugly if it plays. It's, like I said, scattered, cold temps. Winds over 15 miles per hour. Good for the starting pitchers, agree, if it does play. And then Milwaukee at Atlanta. Atlanta is always one of those spots that they will give a postponement out of nowhere. So you definitely have to keep an eye on them. But that one looks a little bit more likely to play. All right, Pete. All that being said on weather, I mean, that's going to have to take into account some of your thoughts on starting pitching, I'm sure. So with that being said, let's kind of dig in, man. You've looked at the slate, you've looked at some weather. Where are you going right now in regards to your pitchers on your top plays?
I mean, if there's no weather, obviously it'd be Garrett Cole. I mean, Cole and I'll try to fit Cole and Max in, but right now they're on the back burner. So, and this is tough. It looks like there could be, you said 4 games canceled. So probably out of the safe games. And once again, it's still only 10 o'clock in the morning, and we've been through this so many times where every single game could play tonight. So just keep that in the back of your mind that to me, Garrett Cole is the best player of the night. He's especially the way he's pitched the last 2 games. He beat Kansas City, scoreless innings. He's 12 innings without giving up a run now. After allowing 8 in his first 11. So Cole's the guy. If Cole's game is canceled, probably as my SP1 leaning towards probably Yu Darvish. He would not even be in consideration probably in cash, but with the weather, probably Darvish. Beside one bad start against, I think it was the Giants, he's had a good season, really. So, yeah, he's had a quality start in every game. Beside that Giant game, he's allowed just 4 runs. There's other games. So, the Marlins, you can beat up the Marlins. You know what I mean? They're a little bit better this year than they've been, but still, they're bottom. They're bottom, ISO bottom, team OPS, WRC plus, so on. So, Darvish is probably my main man, my SP1, if the game goes off. I love Gausman, but Gausman is...
I do too, yeah.
Gausman is another... Okay, no, Gausman is a semi... No, he's another rain game too. I like... Probably... I might end up going 2 different ways. Sandy Alcantara, I think he's too cheap on DK and FanDuel. Though this is if these other games get canceled. He had 3 straight really good quality starts, and then he ran a tough one against the Mariners last week where he allowed 5 runs on 6 hits. But I still think he's too cheap against the Padre offense. Still, once you get by, Machado and Hosmer, I think he can handle them. Or Logan Gilbert, and Logan Gilbert has been. Gilbert's been phenomenal this year. He's thrown at least, let me see, 5. He's allowed only 1 run and 18 hits in 20 innings. He's got an ERA of 0.64. Almost like we were talking about Pablo Lopez the other day. 193 whip. He's going to come in low owned, but he faces the Royals at home in T-Mobile Park, which is a pitcher park. So this is crazy, though. If all those games get canceled, I may end up going probably Darvish and either Alcantara or Gilbert. But I really like, Garrett Cole, Scherzer, and Gausman.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think that the Cleveland-Toronto game, I'm thinking that it plays. I really would love to target Gausman here, especially from a DraftKings standpoint, just because of his elevated K rate. The bottom of that Cleveland lineup definitely has some strikeouts in there, about a 25% K rate over the last couple seasons here. Gausman looks like he's got a 30% K rate. And that's against either side of the plate. So he's definitely got the stuff to be able to strike these guys out. Cleveland's under a 3 implied total. Obviously, he's somebody that I like on there. And you kind of hit on some of the other ones as well that I like here. But I want to ask about somebody because he's kind of in the middle. He's priced up a little bit on there. And there's kind of 2 in this range. But I know you talked about Alcantara, and we've talked about this guy specifically. He's pitching a lot better this year. Merrill Kelly. I know it could be more GPP, but he's not really going to be affected by the weather here. Obviously, we know how bad Colorado can be, especially away from Coors. Do you have any interest at all, Merrill Kelly? Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I've been touting Kelly's horn all season. He just made a dramatic change, and especially just in his pitches, the way he's handling himself. I'm a big Kelly guy, and of course everything is slow here. I just call up now, and he's had double-digit games every single. So 5 starts, all double-digit fantasy points. Right. And yeah, so what do we got for his price here? It's 8,200, and that's probably about right for him right now. 127 whip, 102 whip, perfect 127 ERA. His K's. He's not a big K pitcher anyways, so his K's only 8.26 per 9. But yeah, I could great spot. And you said it's Colorado. Colorado's hitting a little bit better away from course than they usually do. But yeah, that's not a bad call too. So I will throw him in my mix there
Yeah, and I think that they're kind of coming off of that the Coors hangover a little bit. That seems to be happening. It's not a huge travel for them to play in Arizona, but definitely, I mean, I don't even mind the other side of that game and Chad Kuhl as well, because obviously he's going against Arizona, who do strike out a lot. 25.5% K right there. However, I do worry a little bit about negative regression with Kuhl. He's never been a lights out pitcher. He has started off this season quite well, so he's going to be somebody that people are going to look at. And then I do have interest in Luis Garcia here. I saw Urquidy last night. I have been a little bit worried about this Houston Astros starting rotation. I do think that Detroit did not really show up last night. Garcia has an extremely good K rate, especially good against right-handers here. Lefties, he does struggle a little bit. It was kind of the opposite with Urquidy last night, but Detroit was not really able to get to these guys. So, Garcia could definitely come out there and show out, get some Ks and everything like that. There are a few bats that do worry me. Obviously, Meadows in there. He can be dangerous. Robbie Grossman can definitely put the ball into play, hit the ball into the gaps. But the one thing that has surprised me is that Houston seems like, they're really starting to turn it on, defensively hitting. They're not worried about just outscoring teams and things like that. So I love it, the fact that, they're playing better as a team, which for me, Garcia, he's one of those guys that he's an emotional pitcher. He gets amped up. He's got that funky little wind up and whatnot. If he's got it going, man, he could be dealing. So he's a great call, I think, for GPP.
I got another value is Josh Winder.
I love Winder too. Yeah, he's a great call. I figured you were gonna talk about him a little bit just because I know you mentioned something about him in premium, and I kind of was looking at him too. So obviously, guys, what was that? Go ahead.
And I said he just made his first start last week, and he looked really well. So he threw 6 scoreless, 7 strikeouts, and we're not sure what's going to happen with the kid, but it's against Oakland. So right now, Oakland's bad ISO, bad OPS. I mean, they're like 27 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. So K rate 25.6. So Winder's probably my favorite value. And my other nice GBP I like in GBP pivots is Eric Lauer. I like the matchup, but I think he's been pitching really well, and he's had 3 straight quality starts. But I like Josh Winder. I have no problem going all the way down to Winder, maybe even like a Winder and you. But I'm still on Logan Gilbert though.
I like it, man. On FanDuel, obviously, just to mention, there's nothing that really stood out as a huge value. Winder's kind of the only guy down there that I like. He's below 8K. He's at 6.5 against Oakland. So he should definitely be a good value play down there if you're paying down at pitching. Generally, FanDuel is a one-pitcher site. You're going to kind of pick your guy and then roll with them there. So ownership-wise, obviously, if it's not Kohler and it's not Max, people look like they're going to flock a little bit to Luis Garcia because he's only 8.5K there, and he has a very high chance for a win and a quality start here. So that should be interesting to look at on FanDuel because he's at 8.5. You got Alcantara, he's at 9.0. Definitely some guys to look at there. All that being said, we got a lot of bad pitchers too, Pete, and that's why we're going to move over to bats. We're going to talk a little bit about that in regards to some of the teams that we like and the pitchers that we want to attack against. I think with such a big slate, to narrow down your research, if you guys are doing this for MLB and you're doing it consistently like we tend to do, you have to just kind of look and say, well, who are the bad pitchers first? Those are the guys that I want to try to attack. So with that being said, catcher position, Pete, is there anybody on there that you're looking at? I kind of look and dug up some BVP for you to kind of see if we had anybody that stood out. But the only guys that have any kind of history, they don't have a great BVP against their respective opposing pitcher. So there's nothing really to write home about here, but I want to hear your thoughts on the catcher position.
I mean, as bad as he's hitting, Salvy's the pay up. He's going up against Jordan Lyles, 246 ISO on a reverse split. So Salvy's your pay up if you have the money. You do have to worry about the weather there. If not, Twins catchers, both good spots. Jefferson Sanchez. Sanchez is probably my favorite with the platoon, but then I'm probably going to pay down for either two guys, either Tucker Barnhart, who's he's a switch hitter. He's been since coming to Detroit. He's been hitting well, man. He's got a 420 average over the last week and hit 300 on the season. So I had no problem going with Tucker going against Houston or which I'm probably going to land, is all the way down to my punt is MJ Melendez. And
Yeah.
the kid's good. And a lot of people are getting frustrated with him, but just kind of like with Bobby Witt. But remember, this kid hit 41 home runs last year in the minors. So no problem with Melendez because he gets the lefty versus righty matchup with Jordan Lyles. This could be the day you see Melendez hit his first home run. We're always got some really nice players coming up. So if that game stays, which I'm hoping does, I'll probably end up with Melendez. But Melendez at the bottom and, of course, Salvi at top.
Yeah, I noticed that they moved Bobby Witt down in the order. I don't know if that was more or less just to kind of get him some confidence and not put him, in a position to where, he had so much pressure on him. I know that they have Edward Olivares batting leadoff right now, which is kind of a change. Usually Whit Merrifield is their leadoff guy. So there's definitely some changes there, but their lineup, looks really good. You're going against Lyles here. So I love the Melendez call, man. Like I said, I was kind of looking at it from the different spots and attacking different pitchers, but I think you're right about the Sal Perez. I don't know if we're going to be paying $5.1K for a catcher. So he's probably the GPP guy for us here. If you have the salary and you're paying down at pitching, is there anybody else down there that was worth mentioning for you?
No, not with. Grandal is not hitting. I'm not paying $5K for Murphy against Winders. I like Winders, so nope. I said it's probably going to be MJ Melendez or maybe a sneaky Tucker Barnhart.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like I said, I don't see anything in catching that makes me feel like, we have to be there. It is kind of weird, though. Gary Sanchez is at 3.9. Usually he's priced up a little bit more. So he's somebody, obviously, if you have a little bit more salary, you could definitely consider because of the power. And you said the platoon advantage here. So that's pretty fair. Catcher, there's nothing really that I'm like, we just have to absolutely just focus in on here. With that being said, we can move over to the first base position. Be in mind, FanDuel does have catcher and first base together. With that being said, right now, if you're looking at it just from an ownership standpoint, it does look like Sal Perez, 2.9K. He's priced down a little bit. I'm probably going to be playing a first baseman here, obviously, on FanDuel. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as you dig in. All right. That being said, let's move on. First base, Pete, what you seeing?
Oh, if the game goes off, I'm playing Rizzo at home, that short porch. All of his homers, 6 of 9 homers are at home. So I like Rizzo's price, but it probably is not going to go off. So he dropped down to Rowdy Tellez. Hopefully that game goes off. Tellez is on fire right now. 2 doubles yesterday. He's got hits now in 5 of his last 6, 450 batting average in that time, 4 home runs, 4 doubles, 13 ribbies in those 6 games. And now he gets to face Inoa, who's allowed 10 runs in his first 2 starts, which only lasted 6 innings. So Tellez is probably to play if Rizzo doesn't go off. My favorite GVP is Jared Walsh. Walsh is heating up, and he's back to really hitting righties like he did last year. 256 ISO, has back-to-back home run games. I like Walsh's price definitely at 3,700 against Adone. Adone's a decent young pitcher. I've watched him, but Walsh feasts on righties. And I'm going to drop all the way down. I keep getting myself sucked into these Twins, but this Miranda kid, he's minimum price. Number 3 rated prospect in the organization. And the kid's another one. He had 30 home runs last year in AAA and AA. Nice spot. Gets righty versus lefty advantage. Cole Irvin is not starting now for the A's. We got Zach Lowe going now. I think Irvin went on the IL. So Miranda, I played him last night. You can get a lot at 2K. But I'm not sure if you're going to need him now if there's no Scherzer and Garrett Cole. So it's maybe one of those sites where you can get anybody you want. But it's probably going to be either Rowdy Tellez, and if Rizzo doesn't go off. Then you got Ohtani, of course. Well, you got Ohtani. I don't know rated. I guess Ohtani, if you may have money tonight. So Ohtani's on play too, but he's really not hitting. He had a couple hits yesterday, I believe, right? Or no, you had 2 hits yesterday, but he's still hitting like 210 over the last week.
Yeah, and he's definitely struggling, and I think that if you're going to be paying up for him regardless, so you can for sure get him at low ownership here. That's the one thing you can always be mindful of, because obviously he's not going to be the preferred pay up just because he hasn't been hitting lately. I do like pay down wise. I wish this guy was hitting, but he could be batting in the 4 slot, has some decent history against Jordan Lyles. You got Ryan O'Hearn. He's slotted to bat 4th right now. And even on the other side of that game, the Baltimore side of the game, Carlos Hernandez, he's a pitcher that we absolutely think is abysmal. He's actually projecting kind of well, which I think it's kind of funny. His numbers just scream like he's going to get hit hard every single time. And this Baltimore team, I think they could actually just knock this guy out of the game in a couple of innings. Like they can string some hits together. They put up some runs last night, so obviously you can consider a Trey Mancini, or if Mountcastle decides to suit up here. I mean, he could. They're going to be batting in the heart of the order. Those are guys that I like really a lot here. The one guy I was looking at too, because you did mention Ohtani on the other side of that game. Obviously, it doesn't look like it's a weather game, so or unless I missed it. But you have the Washington Nationals. I know that you were kind of down on them as a team that just hadn't been hitting really well, but somebody like Josh Bell or something like that. I don't mind the Nationals hitters today, especially if they get that Barria kid. He's not been very good. I know they're kind of we haven't really talked about them, but Josh Bell is absolutely in play for me. He's 4.7. So I get it's probably going to be more GPP, but if you just stack up like a Carlos Hernandez, Soto, Bell, and then maybe a boomstick on that lineup, that could definitely be a low-owned GPP call there. But I definitely think you can attack this Barria kid here.
Bell's hitting too.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on the first base position?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. And guys, like I said, as we go through this, just to mention, it's 13 games on the slate. We're not going to mention every single name on here just to say we mentioned them. We're mentioning some names of guys that we really like. As we go in, when Pete will drop his top plays article, you'll have a list on there. So if you do have premium access or you want to get it right now with our promo, you can definitely jump in and get the insight on what he's seeing closer to lock. And then, of course, getting in our premium MLB or our cores chat that's on our Discord, we're going to drop in some cores outside of our cash core. We're going to have a GPP course for some of our coaches there as well. All right, Pete. That being said, going on to the second base position, let me lead off here with a little bit of BVP for today. Kind of digging in to see if we have anybody, it seems like everybody has good history against Jordan Lyles. I will say that. Whit Merrifield has actually hit really well against him. No home runs, but, hitting 571, slugging 714. Let me see, digging down if there's anybody else that's worth mentioning here. No, not really, man. Not any significant history, obviously. But with all that being said, I guess Jeff McNeil's on there if that game even decides to play. Second base, what are you looking at? What are your favorite plays at that position?
I mean, especially FanDuel, you got to play Altuve. He's only 2,900 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DK. Had a bomb last night. That was his third home run in the last 5 games he's played. So he's starting to hit now. And I just saw he's got a slash in May of 333, 467, 933, the 1.3 OPS in May after a terrible April. Just lock him in against Bo Brisky and the Tigers. He's a top overall play. He's going to be high owned. I like Ketel Marte for GPPs. He's starting to hit now after a terrible April, like Altuve, 5-game hitting streak for Marte at 4K on DK. And then, to me, there's no pay down tonight. The value stinks. So somebody pops up, as one starting lineup's released. There's nobody. I won't probably go any further down than if the Mets go off, McNeil's a great play. So he's great now. He's hitting 390 over the last week in slash and 348, 408, and 483 on the season. So, and he gets Kyle Gibson with a platoon. So McNeil's a great play. He'd be my second under Altuve if that game goes off. If not, I won't go any further down than Wilmer Flores. But it's pretty much all Altuve and then Ketel Marte for GPP for me. And now, of course, Albies a GPP against the lefty. So, but I like Lauer tonight. So, but definitely Albies hitting fifth. You play Albies against lefties for that power.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably just going to be playing Altuve. I wasn't a dummy last night. He did go off and hit a home run. I actually went up to Tommy Edman because I wanted to play St. Louis. I felt like they were in a good stacking spot, and he wound up coming through for me, which helped me to cash. But that Altuve, he was definitely high owned, and I think you're going to see some high ownership on him today, especially because Brisky looks like a reverse splits pitcher. I don't really have anything to add. You pretty much covered my list on second base because, it doesn't seem like a very big list. Altuve is going to carry the ownership on FanDuel also. So obviously we want to, mention that. I'm looking at it like if for some reason that we do get this Boston game in with the White Sox, I'm always happy to attack Vince Velasquez. So I definitely want to mention that because you obviously have Trevor Story, you have, JD Martinez, a lot of
bad right now. Story's terrible. Looks terrible at the plate.
Yeah, a lot of big bats there. So we're going to move on to third base because I think we actually do have some options at third base. We have some guys that do have some history here. I know. Let me see this. This is Eugenio Suarez. I just want to make sure that one's on there. Yeah, he's definitely on the slate. So Eugenio Suarez is going to be somebody that has good BVP here. 3 home runs off of Whistler. Or does Tampa Bay have Whistler going as their opener, long reliever? Or is he actually?
I think it's Fleming tonight.
They had Whistler on here, which is kind of weird.
Josh Fleming. It's Fleming, and he got beat up last start. I think it's Fleming.
Okay. Well, Eugenio Suarez is always somebody. 4.6, been a little bit more GPP here, but I think, I mean, if I could be wrong, but I think that we're going to be looking at the Boston guy, Rafael Devers, or we're going to be looking at Bregman here. Those are going to be the two that I see. Am I wrong in saying that? Is that kind of where you're leaning? What do you think?
No, you're right. Devers is the play in cash. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better smash spot against Vinny V. We're against lefties right now. 314 ISO, 405 wobas. I mean, against righties, and he's got great slash. Vinny struggles against left-handed bats. 214 ISO, 316 woba. Devers is the play. If for some reason you don't want to go Devers and it's Bregman, Bregman he's been quiet this season, but I mean, he's still okay. He's not striking out. He's getting on base with walks. And what I'm seeing with this Bo Brisky is, very small sample size, but definitely homer prone. So what was it? He's allowed a homer both games he's pitched, and so he's given up 3 homers in 2 games he's pitched, and that is 10 innings. So this might be a spot for Bregman to find, get the long ball going. So it's Devers, then Bregman, and then of course I got to bring up Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt is only 3,200 on DK, so Witt's starting to hit. I did a whole thing on him, a whole research story on him yesterday, and he's come around. I was comparing him to Wander Franco after Franco's 2 weeks. They're very, very similar, and then the next 2 weeks after that, they both got hot, and Witt is
right. Yeah.
If the game goes off, Witt is really good spot at 3,200. He hit his first home run the other day. He had a 7 or 10 game hitting streak that just he finally had an 0 for the other night. He could probably start that streak up again this weekend. So no problem going to Bobby Witt if I can't get the Devers for some reason. But it's all about Devers, and I really don't see anybody that you have to drop all the way down for. One kid who I like who's really hitting the ball is Kevin Smith for Oakland too. Really hitting the ball. He had a grand slam the other night. So I guess you can put Kevin Smith in there as a punt. But it's all about Devers, and then a little Bregman, I guess.
And I will definitely just throw a shout out because he's going to get no ownership, and he's been freaking red hot. Nolan Arenado, man, he's having a season right now, and I know he's priced up, obviously, so it's going to be tough to warrant paying for him with people in much better spots. I guess you could say. I think he's $6K right on DraftKings.
Like 5.9, I think.
Yeah, he's having a good season though, man. Yeah. So definitely somebody, I'm looking at. He's not projecting very well, obviously, here against Cobb. So, I've never thought Alex Cobb was that great. He could be decent, obviously. I'm not a Cobb hater, but he's turned a corner, I would say, later part of his career, obviously. But I just kind of was digging down there and I was looking at ownership projections and I was like, geez, nobody's going to play Arenado today. So, all right. That being said, Pete covered it. Devers, Bregman up there, some other options. He talked about Bobby Witt, only 3.2K on there. If you absolutely want to get GPP weird and you want to go against like a Gaussman or something like that, you could play a Jose Ramirez, a J-Ram. The Indians tend to sneak up. Nobody plays them outside of J-Ram unless they're in just these smash spots. So this could be an opportunity, to attack somebody like Gaussman, who is going to be higher owned. Indians are going to be super low owned with that being said. So that pretty much covers third base. I didn't really see anything on a BVP standpoint outside of the Suarez that I wanted to mention. Kind of looking at it and digging. I do think that I mentioned Arenado, and it wasn't because of a BVP thing, but he is batting 500 career against Alex Cobb with 1 home run, slugging 1250. That albeit only 4 plate appearances there. All right. That being said, we're moving on. Shortstop position, kind of looking at around the same mentality. Obviously, if the Boston game goes on, you got Xander Bogaerts kind of popping up there with some ownership there. But I think this is going to be a spot where we can be a little bit different. You don't have to be so chalky. Bogaerts is not a must. All that being said, Pete, if you're looking at BVP and there's anybody that really stood out, I would mention it, but I really don't see anything. I think Lindor, if they decide to get that game, and he has the most I guess, history here against Kyle Gibson, but there's nothing here to really write home about. So what do you think about shortstop?
Of course, Bogarts is the play against Vinny V. I mean, smash play, and I usually play Devers and Bogarts together.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got 921 OPS in his first 100 at bats, which is damn good. So, Bogarts is 5-1 on DK, which is pretty reasonable. I really like at 4-1 this Pena kid for Houston. He's the real deal.
Man, he's hitting. Love it.
Sure is. 3 straight double-digit games. Home run last night. No problem playing him. So I may end up, if I can't get the Bogarts or Weather, it would be Pena. Definitely. Willie Adames, I think, is in a decent spot. Any pay downs? To me, Jeremy Pena at 4-1 is a pay down. So I don't think you really have to go much lower than Pena. I mean, I like this. I like that kid a lot. So, but if you have to go down there, it'd probably be Velasquez. I'm a big Velasquez guy. Bronx kid now playing for the Angels at only 2.7. So he's in play. Nicky Ahmed. I like Nicky Ahmed against lefties, but he's been hitting righties home runs. So Ahmed against Cool at 3-1. But to me, yeah, it's Bogarts, Adames, Pena, and then down to like Ahmed or Velasquez. I'm talking like cash pretty much, because you have all these other guys you can play Dansby and stuff. But
yeah, for sure, man. Kind of digging down. There's nobody really that I'm seeing outside. I mean, Pena's kind of the pay down guy here. I mean, you could definitely drop in at, like, say you just want to go for a pump play. I know that you have that Mateo guy, Jorge Mateo for Baltimore. He usually bats at the bottom of the order, but he does have stolen base upside. So that is how he kind of can score. And, Baltimore, if they get hot, he's somebody to definitely look at. You mentioned a guy, and I don't know too much about his pedigree, but Andres Jimenez for Cleveland, sneakily, he's hitting 344 for the season. Yep. 14 RBIs, 2 home runs, has a stolen base. That was definitely intriguing to me. And I was looking at it, I was kind of like, okay, go ahead and get it, Jimenez. So he was somebody that I looked at. You mentioned him before. I know that you said that you liked him just as a, kind of a low-owned player, whatever it was. And I was like, okay. So now that I dug more into it, I was really surprised at his numbers. He's not a full-time player right now, but he definitely could get more at bats, especially because he's hitting well and hitting with power. That being said, Pete, we can move on to the outfield position. Obviously, that's where we're going to spend probably some salary. We're going to spend a lot of time because obviously there's so many choices here. But I will say my guy Juan Soto is looking really good today. Is he kind of the top play ownership-wise? Probably not on DK so much because it looks like they want to pay down for that lead-up guy who's been hitting. Oliveras attacking Lyles and Dalton Varsho. We know he always gets ownership leading off lefty versus righty, even though I think Cool's actually in a really good spot here. So all that being said, what are you looking at for outfield?
I think you got to keep playing Cedric Mullins. I mean, Mullins is on fire. Double home run again yesterday. 6 straight games. Used him on my GPPs last night. ISO 260 in that history. OPS over 1,000. So
wow,
Mullins in a great spot. And 30. Now he must have against Carlos Fernandez. He must have dropped to now. He dropped in price. It makes no sense here. Some of this.
It's kind of weird.
He's almost a lock if that game goes off. Yordan Alvarez against Bo Brisky, this guy who's got home run issues, of course. That's probably my 2 favorite. And of course, if I can get him in, I'll keep playing Mike Trout every night. And I know, it's not a hard one to say, but Trout is back to Mike Trout. So if I can get Trout in every night, I'm going to get him in. Buxton hit a home run last night. He's up against this replacement pitcher. I can't say enough about Mullins in that spot.
Yeah, he's priced down, man. That's weird. 3.9. I don't get it. Yeah, I just don't get why he's priced down like that.
He dropped. He dropped from yesterday, so who knows what DK is thinking. But
yeah,
like I said, you mentioned Meadows against the righty.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say I definitely love JD Martinez here against Velasquez. Obviously, if that game goes off, because he's just somebody that we know he can hit. I think he has a couple bombs in BVP history here against Velasquez, so he's definitely got some success there. If we want to stay on the BVP train, a couple to mention: Boomstick Nelson Cruz actually has faced this Jaime Barria kid quite a lot in the American League. 11 plate appearances, 2 home runs against him, hitting .444, slugging 11-11. Has not struck out ever against this guy. And Barria is not a big strikeout guy too. So if you're looking at, from if you're loving the Nationals like I kind of do here, and you want to play that, Josh Bell, Soto Cruz mini stack, you can definitely throw Hernandez there at the top. He's somebody to consider. Eric Lauer, even though we like him a lot, Marcell Ozuna has had some success against this guy. 9 plate appearances, 3 of those have been home runs. So he's only gotten 3 hits against it. Oh, I'm sorry. No, my apologies. He has 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's has 6 hits and 9 at bats against Lauer. So he definitely sees this guy well. 3 of those have been home runs, Pete. So I definitely want to mention that. So all that being said,
this Yadi Hernandez is really hitting well, isn't he?
Yeah, that guy. Because he kind of when Cruz was battling some injury stuff, obviously he was a guy that kind of filled in that spot. So he's definitely people I like. I saw Austin Hayes went yard last night. These Baltimore guys are facing Carlos Hernandez. I know you got Mancini's dual position eligible. Definitely like them a lot here. And then we talked about the Boston guys, obviously. Velasquez is pretty bad against everybody. You can play the Martinez Vertigo. I think we already talked about that as well. Frenchie Cordero looks to be making the lineup too, so that should be interesting. And nobody ever plays Jackie Bradley on the wraparound, so he's always in play here. What else on outfield are we looking at?
That Cordero's a big kid. I was watching him yesterday. We pretty much hit him. There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna sneak up there, but I like the Yadi call. I think he's got a 14.3% barrel rate. I like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got to get Mullins in. He's so cheap. You could possibly get a Mike Trout or Buxton in your lineup with him, and then drop down to like a nice call to on JD Martinez. That was the other one. And he's hitting 390 last week, 2-3-10 on the season.
Yeah, and I hadn't played him the other day, and I can't remember if he paid me off or not, but I was looking at it, and I was like, man, this guy's got double-digit games in 3 straight, and he was like $1,300 cheaper than Aaron Judge. And I was like, yeah, I need to play some JD Martinez in Boston. That they've been good to me. So, even when I pick bad pitching, they've been good to me. So all that being said, Pete, if you're looking at just from a preliminary core, we can't hold you to it. Things change. I understand that. You got to pick one pitcher and you have to pick, 3 batters. Who are you looking at right now? Who stands out in your mind after kind of going through everything?
I mean, probably this is with the rain issues, probably Darvish. Devers, Mullen, and there was Jimmy Pena, shortstop.
Yeah.
I like Pena right now. I like Pena's price.
I definitely love that. I'm kind of also leaning in the Jose Altuve camp is kind of like almost a must play. I'm like, man, I'm torn. I'm going to have to definitely play some Astros and some Boston stacks, and I'm going to be playing some Washington as well. I think you're absolutely right on pitching. I think you could absolutely play that. If I'm looking at it from just a GPP standpoint and I have to play some things, I'm really looking at maybe Luis Garcia. Maybe he can turn it up today for us as a little bit of a pay down there. So, all right, Pete, we're going to be talking about favorite stacks here. We kind of touched on them. I'll let you give me yours, your favorite, and then maybe your low owned one. And then we're going to talk home run calls and we're going to call it a day. So what do you think for your favorite stack right now? What is the team that we should be looking at?
Man, it's a tough one too, because all this damn weather.
Yeah.
Probably I may even game stack the Angels and Nationals. You mentioned the Nationals, and probably I may game stack the Angels and Nationals, and I may end up going right back to, if Enoa's going, I think it's Enoa, maybe going right back to the Brewers again. Beat up Enoa. So the Angels game and then the Brewers. Right. You know what? Oh my God! But we got Carlos Hernandez going too.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot, man. Or yeah, so I don't want to take all of yours, but it'd be so Orioles or Brewers. Orioles or Brewers.
I like it. I mean, it's very hard for me to look at otherwise. It's like I've never played the guy. I've always tried to play against him as much as I can. But if that Boston game just has to go off, Vinny Velasquez here, man, I want to attack him as much as I can. I will say, though, if the rain does hold off, like I said, I mean, they're playing in Fenway. So, Boston hits really well in Fenway. I'm not saying the White Sox can't show up either, but really do like, stacking them up against Vince Velasquez. I love Story. I love Devers. I love Bogarts. I love JD Martinez. That's an awesome 4-man stack. And then if I'm looking at it from that standpoint, you're like, okay, you can mix and match. And I don't think that they're going to be low owned, but obviously we talked a little bit about the Astros. So, I'm going to not be the homer here, and I'm going to say the Nationals because I think that they're going to be able to hit this Barry kid. I like that as a game stack as well. And, we could definitely get some low ownership there. We just kind of have to keep an eye out to see what games do play and don't play. Keep an eye on those weather games, guys, because if those things, they can change a lot of ownership and they can make you some money. Okay. All right, man. Home run calls. We got a big slate. Give me 2 above 4K and below 4K, Pete.
I want to say I want to be different. I want to say like Mullins, but that's an easy one. So, was he's hot.
Well, you said that the other day, and you cursed CJ Cron. I'd like to mention that because you're like, I don't want to say CJ Cron, and then I played him, and then Rowdy Tellez hits 2 home runs.
Had a 2 home, yeah. I ended up playing Tellez. The last second I changed it to Tellez. So let's look at Jared Walsh. He's 3,700, so I guess you consider that a value. And Walsh and I want to say Devers, but that's an easy one too. But let's I'm gonna do it again. I'm going right back to Yordan Alvarez and Jared Walsh.
I like it. Yeah, there's definitely there's very, very little reason for me not to pick Devers. So since you didn't pick him, I'm going to go ahead and pick him today because I think the one things that I look at here outside of just Vinny V being pretty terrible is that Devers has good hitters all around him. Lefty-righty matchup doesn't really matter too much, but Devers absolutely crushes righties. 318 ISO, 382 WOBA, but he has a 41.3% fly ball rate. And Vinny Velasquez is not a guy who keeps the ball on the ground. 43.4% fly ball rate. Obviously higher against righties, so I could go on the other end of that and just say JD Martinez or Story. I like all 3 of those, but if I had to pick one, I am going to pick Devers as my pay up because I know he's a pay up here. And then for my low owned guy, trying to dig through, I was like, man, I wanted to be different and everything like that, but I'm kind of looking and I'm like, I think he's due, man. I'm gonna just take the risk. MJ Melendez at catcher today. He's going yard. I feeling it, Pete. I want to channel good vibes. I feel it too. I want to channel good vibes from Melendez so we can pay down at catcher. So hopefully he goes off. That's going to force Pete to play him anyway, guys. So my home run call will definitely go off. All right, Pete. Anything else, man?
Nope, we're good.
Awesome, guys. Hey, guys, be sure to check us out. Like I said, hit the like and subscribe, the thumbs up as well. That's going to help us out tremendously on any social that you're going to be viewing this on, albeit YouTube, Twitch, or anything else. Also, if you have not already joined our Discord, it is free. Give it a try, but my recommendation is to try us out on Premium, guys. Give a month a try, $25 while it lasts as our MLB promo. That's half off right now. And it gives you all sports access. Go ahead, Pete.
Actually, I got 12 p.m. Formula One DFS show, 12 p.m. with Chris Besh, and WNBA opens up tonight. So I think we're gonna have some notes and cores for WNBA, and we've been crushing these small sports like tennis and soccer and stuff. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, we got golf this week too. So all that being said, guys, we're proud partners with PrizePicks and PointsBet. We do have PrizePicks content out on our site, also in our Discords as well. Be sure to check out that PrizePicks room, and that is a contribution from all of our staff members there. Thank you, Pete. Obviously, thank you for our production team here. This is the Daily Hit and Run Show for May 6th from YFC. At YFC Sports V12, at YFC Sports Pete. Signing out, guys. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.